Hi, my name's Quinn and I'm part of Seed Madagascar's Sustainable Livelihoods team. A few weeks ago, a really big fire hit the wetlands around Sainte Luce. Specifically, it went through two wetlands that a lot of Mahampy weavers had been relying on. It had a big impact on the women. It burned through two of the major wetlands that were more accessible to women who were maybe older or who weren't able to travel as far from home because of their responsibilities. So having a wetland, having this wetland in particular burn was quite a blow to the women. Because of this, it means that some people will have to walk a lot further to find the reeds that they need. It might mean that they're able to harvest less, again because of the distance and the time it will take. But it also really shed light on the fact that these reed beds are quite vulnerable to fire in particular, especially with the drought, especially with climate change. We might start to see fires that are happening more frequently, are burning for longer, and are higher intensity. The fire we saw this time was also really rapidly moving through because of the high winds that are happening at the moment. So while periodic fire can be good for a lot of different ecosystems, with climate change and with chronic drought, what we might see is more fires like this, fires that are moving through quite rapidly, they're burning for longer, they're burning hotter, and we don't yet know the effect that that will have on the Mahampy reed beds. But what we do know is this particular fire was very big. It covered a really large area and almost completely burned an entire wetland that the women rely on. So fires like this are definitely a big concern, and the effect on the women will also be quite large. The process to weave a mat already takes so long. It takes multiple days to weave the mat, but now you also have to add on the time it takes to walk to these wetlands, to harvest the reeds, and to dry them. So having a burned wetland just means that there's another additional burden added onto these women. It's another step that they have to take in this already long process to be able to weave reeds. But this also kind of has a compounding effect on families in the region. A lot of families are already struggling because of this drought that we're seeing, because of crop failures, not having enough water to take care of vegetables, and then also other effects like the unpredictable weather and how that makes things like fishing really difficult to do because of the rough seas. So there's a lot of different challenges that families in Sainte Luce are dealing with right now. And between the fire and drought and also the economic impacts on Mahampy weaving as a livelihood, this is likely to be quite difficult to families in the region, not just now, but in terms of their ability to save for things like education, to send their kids to school and pay school fees and buy uniforms, and then also just manage day-to-day expenses. There's a lot of different ways that a crisis like this can be addressed. So of course, when there's an immediate threat, a response such as food distribution has been the road that Seed takes. But what we've seen with these more chronic issues, so climate change is going to continue to be an issue. It's likely that droughts will continue to be an issue in the region. So instead of just responding to these threats as they happen, what we hope to do is build resilience so that the communities are prepared to respond to them before they even happen. What we want to do is help the women of the Mahampy Cooperative and families throughout the Inus region to build resilience so that when these threats do happen, like drought, the effects of climate change, of fire, they are prepared to respond to this. So instead of being reactive, we want to be proactive. And one way to do this is to strengthen the existing livelihoods, such as Mahampy Weaving and the Mahampy Women's Cooperative. They're able to build more agency, greater financial resilience, so that if a crisis does occur, like this fire, they're better equipped. They have savings to fall back on, they have a supportive network that they can rely on, and also they just have greater agency to respond to that crisis and to move forward. So supporting longer-term resilience within the Inus region is especially important as we see the effects of climate change worsening, as we see things like chronic drought, and again, as we move through this pandemic. Building the resilience of these communities, the Mahampy women included, is going to be extremely important in the coming months.